Nassim Taleb's idea of antifragility has become widely known over the years. I've discussed it before, but it's such an important and counterintuitive concept that it's worth revisiting. Most people instinctively want safety. We want our children to grow up without setbacks or danger. Some schools have even eliminated outdoor recess in the name of protection. We follow rules, hoping life will reward us if we simply stay on track and avoid mistakes. We pray for stability. Meanwhile, risk-takers are often viewed with suspicion. We assume that "fortune favors the bold" is a slogan for gamblers and reckless adventurers. But here's the strange thing. Many cautious, rule-following people still experience major setbacks they never saw coming, while some of the people who constantly experiment, take risks, and challenge themselves end up becoming both successful and resilient. Why? Because sometimes the safer path is actually more dangerous. The key question is not whether risk exists. Risk is always present. The real question is, are you exposed to fragile risks or anti-fragile ones? A fragile object dislikes volatility. Think of a delicate glass vase. Or imagine the sword of Damocles hanging above your head. A small shock, a tiny disturbance, even a light breeze can destroy them. Traditionally, we try to protect fragile systems in two ways. One is robustness, making the vase stronger so it can survive bigger impacts. The other is resilience, allowing something to bend and recover after being stressed. Both approaches require redundancy. You need extra capacity, extra margin, extra safety buffers. This is exactly what Warren Buffett means when he talks about a margin of safety. But if safety becomes the only objective, life becomes incredibly dull. Fortunately, there is another category of systems that most people overlook: anti-fragile systems. An anti-fragile system doesn't merely survive shocks. It benefits from them. Taleb loves the example of the Hydra from Greek mythology. Cut off one of its heads, and two grow back. You heard it, and it gets stronger. I once attended a startup event in Silicon Valley where a student founder said she was worried that her AI earbud company looked too much like Apple's products. She wondered whether Apple might sue them. To her surprise, an experienced entrepreneur replied, "If Apple sues you, celebrate. It means you're finally important enough to notice." For a tiny startup, being attacked by a giant company can generate attention, publicity, and credibility. Even negative publicity can attract customers. That's anti-fragility in action. Taleb wasn't speaking metaphorically. Fragility and anti-fragility have precise mathematical meanings. Imagine a payoff curve. The horizontal axis represents volatility, uncertainty, stress, or disorder. The vertical axis represents outcomes, gains or losses. A fragile system has a concave payoff curve, shaped like an upside-down bowl. Its upside is limited, but its downside grows rapidly as volatility increases. You might gain a little, but a sufficiently large shock can cause catastrophic losses. An anti-fragile system has a convex payoff curve, shaped like a smile. Its downside is limited, but its upside increases as uncertainty grows. You may suffer small losses, but your potential gains are enormous. This is where Jensen's inequality comes in. For convex systems, variability itself creates value. In other words, volatility becomes your friend. The simple takeaway is this: fragile systems have capped upside and unlimited downside. Anti-fragile systems have limited downside and uncapped upside. Of course, these properties are often local rather than universal. A little exercise makes you healthier. Too much exercise injures you. The same activity can move from anti-fragile to fragile depending on the dose. The biggest danger in fragile systems isn't loss. It's ruin. The goal is to avoid catastrophic failure. One powerful strategy is subtraction. Instead of constantly adding more features, more obligations, more complexity, remove things. A stressed child doesn't necessarily need another tutoring class. An exhausted company doesn't necessarily need another performance metric. Many systems become fragile because they're overloaded. Remove toxic relationships. Avoid excessive leverage. Eliminate unnecessary bureaucracy. Stop relying on all-night cramming sessions. Sometimes the smartest action is deciding what not to do. A second strategy is to isolate failures. Instead of allowing pressure to accumulate until one massive collapse occurs, create opportunities for small failures. A large boulder can kill you. The same rock crushed into tiny pebbles is harmless. Nature provides a great example. For decades, forest managers tried to suppress every wildfire. Eventually scientists realized that small fires are beneficial. They clear dead vegetation and prevent dangerous fuel accumulation. Suppress all fires, and eventually you get a catastrophic megafire. The same principle appears in economics. Economist Hyman Minsky argued that prolonged stability creates instability. When people experience years of calm conditions, they become overconfident. They borrow more. They speculate more. They take greater risks. The system becomes increasingly fragile until it eventually collapses. To achieve long-term stability, you must allow short-term instability. If you want anti-fragility, you need a different mindset. The first principle is simple. When you find a genuinely anti-fragile opportunity, take the bet. This is where Taleb's famous barbell strategy comes in. Keep most of your resources safe. Use a small portion for highly asymmetric opportunities. If you lose, the damage is limited. If you win, the upside can be life-changing. This applies far beyond investing. Suppose you have an idea for a project. You send an email to an industry leader. What's the worst outcome? They ignore you. What's the best outcome? It changes your career. The downside is tiny. The upside is enormous. That's an anti-fragile bet. Likewise, if you have a stable job, you can spend evenings building a side project. Most side projects fail. But the cost is limited while the upside can be substantial. The second principle is even more interesting. Inject uncertainty deliberately. In other words, create small challenges before the world creates larger ones for you. This idea appears throughout biology. In 2003, toxicologist Edward Calabrese compiled evidence showing that tiny doses of certain stressors can actually improve biological performance. This phenomenon is called hormesis. A small challenge activates repair mechanisms that leave the organism stronger than before. This is the logic behind vaccination. It's the logic behind exercise. It's the logic behind cold exposure, sauna sessions, and intermittent fasting. The goal isn't suffering. The goal is adaptation. Your body is naturally anti-fragile. Use it appropriately and it grows stronger. Leave it completely unstressed and it weakens. The same principle applies to organizations. Most companies obsess over reliability and try to eliminate every possible failure. Netflix took a different approach. Its engineers created a tool called Chaos Monkey. Chaos Monkey randomly shuts down servers during normal operations. It deliberately creates failures. At first glance, this sounds insane. Why would you intentionally break your own system? Because every small failure reveals hidden weaknesses. Instead of waiting for a major disaster, Netflix trains itself under controlled stress. As a result, when large-scale outages occur, Netflix often performs better than competitors whose systems were never tested. At this point, you may notice something uncomfortable. Fragility and anti-fragility are often not objective properties. They depend on where you're standing. The same system can be fragile for one participant and anti-fragile for another. Consider investment funds. The limited partners provide the capital. If investments fail, they lose money. They're exposed to fragility. Fund managers, on the other hand, often receive management fees and performance bonuses. If the fund succeeds, they gain enormously. If it performs poorly, their losses may be limited. Naturally, they have stronger incentives to pursue risk. The same pattern appears everywhere. Athletes are fragile. Sports academies are anti-fragile. Founders are fragile. Venture capitalists are anti-fragile. Homebuyers can be fragile. Developers may be anti-fragile. This is what Taleb calls asymmetric risk. And it's why he insists on one principle above all others. Skin in the game. People who enjoy the upside should also share the downside. A healthy system doesn't allow one group to collect profits while another group absorbs all the risks. The cheapest form of courage is letting someone else bear the consequences. The most important lesson is that stability is often an illusion. Risk never disappears. You're always exposed to some form of uncertainty. The question is whether that uncertainty hurts you or helps you. In practical terms, build multiple skills instead of relying on a single role. Accept small, recoverable challenges rather than avoiding all discomfort. Take low-cost bets with large upside potential. Learn through frequent small failures instead of waiting for one devastating mistake. And yes, let children play outside. Life's greatest opportunities often emerge from uncertainty. Growth requires exposure. Progress requires experimentation. You cannot have all of the rewards of anti-fragility without accepting some degree of risk. The goal isn't to eliminate volatility. The goal is to arrange your life so that volatility works for you rather than against you. That's it for today's content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.